All right, I got a few things to say about this guy as well. For one, the kind of skinniness thing is super over-exaggerated, and in hand, you don't really realize it at all. Even his lack of butt and his lack of squats and his lack of time in the gym with some of my favorite Instagram gals it's just something that you don't notice in person. I had to be careful with this because I know if I went that far to the extreme on it, people would cite that Wild Rider review and kind of come from my head. But it is different. People just think I have this bias, and maybe I do, but I do like both. I do want both offerings from both companies, and I think that the kind of the width and depth of the of the breakdown from DX9 is kind of better than the one from Fans Toys. But if we're talking just about the skinniness is not the same as Wild Rider. And I had a feeling as soon as I got it out of the box that it wouldn't be. And I showed you guys on the first impressions, and then I showed it some more in the video. And I hope that comes across because it really it's not as offensive. The sculpt, all that stuff, all that typical Fans Toys greatness, that shit is still in there 100%. It's jam-packed in there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful figure. The car mode is perfect. But there's two things we do have to talk about. One, I don't know why it is so difficult for this company to come up with any kind of engineering since the Fans Toys Dinobots that doesn't want to make you take your head, put it in a vise, and just crank until you lose consciousness to crank anymore. And you have one eye on the verge of popping out, and your hand is still fighting just to get one more crank because it's easier to put your head in that vise and squeeze the juices out of your eyes than it is to get some of these steps correct. One of those steps are the chest flaps, getting them to close tightly. One of them, unfortunately, is getting the lower waist to swivel, but I think that's one of those things that will kind of get better over time. It's just that it's fully painted and it's grinding against the paint and it gets sorted. But the other one is getting the arms to fold up and then connect firmly against the side. Off camera, you had no idea how long that took me. It was a pain in the balls. The other thing is the front bumper. That one, I think it's just one of those things, right? It's like, I think the problem with Fans Toys engineering, and this ties directly to the front bumper, so bear with me for a second, is that there's no room for error. Everything has to be lined up just so perfectly in order for it to all come together. Whereas with a lot of companies, like you can kind of get the tab in there and then you finagle the pieces around and boop, 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 it'll go into place. Not the case with this company. This thing, it can't be off an nth of a degree or you're going to be struggling like I was. And the problem, well, not the problem, but the frustrating thing about that is that the engineering on this is outstanding. And it's actually pretty intuitive and it's fun. After I try to show that in the review, like the leg transformation. Like I do one piece by piece and then I try to do the other one kind of as within shot as I can. And like there's an elegance to it. And it's just like doop, 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 doop. It's beautiful. The problem is that once you get it all done and ready to come together, everything better be right. It better be right. Or Fans Toys is going to make you take it all apart and start from scratch. And that is where they lose people. And I understand it. Now, they don't really lose me because I don't transform my stuff other than for the sake of doing the review. After that, it's pretty much locked in position unless I'm going to combine something or something along those lines. It's pretty much, it just is what it is. But if I was, and I know a significant amount of people care about the transformation regarding this stuff. They see it as part of it. A lot of people's allure to Transformers is the transformation. Ironically, it has nothing to do with my love for it. But I know it is for a lot of people. It is the main gimmick. And until they can make that stuff fun, just fun. It doesn't have to be like transform element, right? I'm not crazy about that Prime. You guys know that. The transformation, super involved. But you know what? It's not a bad time. That transformation, far more involved than the spoiler. And the spoiler is not a fun ride, whereas the transformation element one, it's kind of an enjoyable little ride. You know, and like I would say that MP44 kind of fits somewhere in the middle. But for everything that Fans Toys does right, they're never going to get the credit that they deserve or the love that they deserve, arguably, from everyone until they get that element of the toy down. They've got the collectible element. They don't have the toy element.